Hello, folks, and welcome to the today's session. Uh, this is a day one of the AZ900 Bootcamp, and today we have Saurabh Kundu with us. Saurabh Kundu is a technical architect at Mindtree, 6S Azure Certified, and uh, we are very happy to host Saurabh today. Guys, without further any ado, I would like to invite Saurabh with his presentation, and I want you all, to learn from him to get all the concept grab, all the minor uh, details of AZ900 exam. You all can ask your doubt in the comment section. We have the comment section open for all. Guys, I will soon share a Discord link which you can join for the doubts which you are having after the session. Thank you, and sorry we can continue with this session.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome everyone to this 3-day bootcamp session for AZ900 certification. And thanks to Azure developer community for organizing this. And also thanks to all for joining. So for this bootcamp, I will be strictly following the training materials available in Microsoft documentation for the certification so that we can stay aligned with the certification topics. And so the credit for the training materials will be goes to Microsoft documentation. So in this bootcamp, I will try to cover up most of the important topics of the certification. So for more details, you can check the Microsoft documentation. And if you have some query, you can also directly reach me on LinkedIn. And the session will be mixture of theoretical concepts along with the required hands-on as and when required. Okay, so let me share my screen. So currently is my screen visible?
Yes, Saurav, it is visible.
Okay, so giving a brief introduction about myself, my name is Shourabh Kundu, and I'm a technical architect, around 14 years of industry experience. And I'm a certified data scientist, data engineer, and data analyst from Microsoft. So, the skills which will be measured for these certifications are distributed in this fashion. So, 20 to 25% will be cloud concepts, 15 to 20% you will be getting questions from core Azure services. For core solutions and management tools on Azure, you will be 10 to 15%. For security and network security, again 10 to 15%. For identity, governance, privacy, and compliance features, it will be 15 to 20% again. And the last section will be on cost management and service level agreements. And the passing score will be 700 out of 1000. A small note is that this exam version will be updated on May 5th. So anyone who wants to look into the latest syllabus can go there. So if I click on the link, you will be going to this page where all the details of Microsoft Azure Fundamentals exam are mentioned. And you will be getting all the skills measured here. And along with that, you can also check what are the detailed level syllabus is mentioned for this certification and the changes which will be taking place from 5th May. So you can look it on your own and can check in details what is there. Let us meanwhile continue with the slide. So the first thing is we will be needing an Azure free account for practice purpose, and they will be providing us with a $200 Azure credit and with some popular services free for 12 months and other services as well. So first of all, you all please visit this site and create a free account from here. I already have one account, so I cannot create another one. So you create this first so that you can have all those credits for practice for the certification, and you will be getting all these credits for 30 days. After that, it will be a pay as you go service. Okay, so this you will need to do for your practice purpose for this certification. So let's go to day one. So first we will be covering up describe cloud concepts. That will be 20 to 20%, 25% of the questions which will be coming up from here. So basically, what is cloud? So nowadays everyone is moving to cloud. We can hear. So what is actually the cloud computing is? So the cloud computing is basically the all the delivery of the services such as storage, servers, database, software over internet. For this, you do not need any infrastructure for you to work on this. You just need to have a internet connection. You need to log into a portal and just use those services, and you need to pay for how much you use only, nothing extra. So it's a consumption based model using which you can use the cloud from different vendors such as Microsoft, AWS, and Google. So next is, so why we are moving into cloud, means what are the benefits of the cloud computing. So there should be some benefits, right? Means why we are moving to cloud. So first of all, there is no upfront cost. So previously, when you need to set up an infrastructure on premise, you need to buy hardwares, you need to set up the networks, you need to build the servers, softwares, you need to buy license for the softwares. Everything was there. So that upfront cost was huge. Even before starting the business, you had to incur all those costs. So there is a huge benefit for cloud here. There is no upfront cost. You will be logging into the portal and will be using whatever is required for you from the very first day. And if you do not need that, you just change the configuration accordingly and you have to pay according to that. So it will be a pay as you go pricing model. So if you need a high configuration RAM for suppose a month, you will be paying for that high configuration. And suppose after 1 month you do not need that much of memory, so you can just downgrade that configuration and you have to pay less. So whatever you will be paying, it is a pay as you go pricing model. The third one is high availability. So if there was some failure in your on premise infrastructure, so obviously there will be a downtime, right? So until and unless you make those repairs and other things, so there will be a downtime for all those services which are provided from your on premise. But this is not the case for the cloud. So this cloud, there is a major benefit is high availability because your resources are distributed globally. You can see there is geo distribution, and data replication is one of the important features of cloud computing, and it is used for disaster recovery. Suppose you are using some resources from region A, and there is some failure in region A. So automatically the region B will provide support if you have configured that accordingly. So you will not be able to understand that there is a downtime actually. So there will be high availability, and disaster recovery is very much easy with cloud computing. And another one is scaling is easy. Scaling means there are two types of scaling: vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. So vertical scaling is basically you are, to a machine you are adding extra memory or the compute. So you are increasing the RAM configuration or CPU configuration. And horizontal scaling is you're adding more machines. So if that was the case in the your on premise, so that is a bit challenging, right? So if you need to set up more than one machines, you have to buy those machines and you have to again configure the machines. You have to keep those softwares intact for again licensing purpose. So everything is there, but it is very easy in cloud. You just change the configuration within the cloud, and the cloud will handle it accordingly. So it allows mainly us to focus on the business rather than the infrastructure. So these are the benefits for cloud computing. So the next thing you need to know that what are the different types of cloud available. Okay, so there are three types of cloud: public, private, and hybrid. From the name itself you can understand that the public cloud is a cloud which is available to anyone, and there are different cloud providers who are providing their services like Microsoft, AWS, and Google Cloud. So it is available to the general public. And the private cloud is only specific to an organization or business, means it is not exposed to the external customers. So the cloud is basically on premise or within an organization and is more secured. So it might be an organization's own data center, and there are also different private cloud providers such as HP Data Center, Microsoft, Ubuntu, they are also providing these things. And hybrid is combination of both. So you will be having features both of public cloud and private cloud. So the data and applications will be shared between them. So these three types of clouds, it's important for you to understand for the certifications, and what is the difference between them. And next coming up, that what are the different service cloud service models. So there are three types of cloud service models: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So we call them IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Okay. So the infrastructure service is very close to the physical servers which you manage in your own premise. So what they will do, they will only provide you a virtual machine instead of a physical machine, and you will be logging into that virtual machine, and all the rest of the things you have to handle from your end. Nothing will be taken care by the cloud provider. So it's only that you will be not having a physical machine, instead of you will be having a virtual machine. So you have to manage and configure all the hardwares and softwares within that virtual machine itself. For platform as a service, those you need, you can focus on the application development. Actually, the platform management will be handled by the cloud provider, which was not in case of infrastructure as a service. So suppose Azure App Service is there, so you need to deploy some application to Azure App Service. So you will be just deploying that application into the app service. You do not need to means think about that how it will be managed and how it will be deployed. Those things will be taken care by the cloud provider. And finally, the SaaS, software as a service, it, you need to provide only the data, nothing else. The platform, the infrastructure, and everything will be handled by the cloud provider. Example is Microsoft Office. You are only providing it the data, and rest of everything will be taken care by the cloud provider. So there might be some questions that what type of service is this by giving an one service. So you need to understand that service and how it works, whether it is an IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS. So this is an important section you need to understand. And here you can see all those details in a diagram, that in on premise, that is a private cloud, you have to manage each and everything which are mentioned in green, and the cloud provider is managing whatever is mentioned in blue. So you can see in on-premise, data, application, runtime, operating system, virtual machine, compute, networking, storage, all are managed by yourself. That is your responsibility. For infrastructure as a service, only as I mentioned, if you are providing a machine, compute, networking, and storage is being provided by the cloud provider, you need to manage rest of the things. And platform as a service, you need to only focus on development of applications, and the data rest are handled by the cloud provider. And in software, you are only managing the data only. So this is the differences between the on-premise and the three cloud service models. And another important thing to understand for this certification is capex versus opex. So what is capex? That is a capital expenditure. So it is the initial cost upfront you have to pay when you are actually setting up your infrastructure. So it is very high in case of on-premise infrastructure, but using cloud we can actually handle it quite efficiently. So examples may be server cost, storage cost, license cost, data center cost, there will be networking cost, many costs are there which you need to set up on an initial basis. And the operational cost, as you can see, it's a expense. For an ongoing expense, you need to carry on your operation for running the business, such as maintenance cost, wages, software, annual maintenance cost, many things are there. So you need to understand the difference as well for the exam purpose. Next, we can see what is Microsoft Azure. As already told, it is a cloud computing platform provided by Microsoft. It has more than 200 products and cloud services. So these are few links I have provided here. From here, you can actually visit those links and can check those details and can go in depth. So these are the sites you can check what are the different services being provided, what are the different products from Microsoft. So there are number of products available, more than 200 plus. You can just go into them and look into them in details at how it works, but in depth is knowledge is not required for this specific certification. Maybe for other certifications it will be required. Okay, so now entering into Azure part. So what is subscription management groups and resources? Let me open the portal. So this is the portal. You can see whenever we will be logging into Microsoft portal, this will be the home page. It will be coming up. So let me go to, these are all resources. You can see here the base means the atomic part of what we normally say is the resources. So what are resources? Resources are instances of service. Each and every services, virtual machine, storage, networks, database, whatever is present within the Azure, all are resources. So this is the base part, the lowest part. You can see here everything is resources, and top of the resources are resource group. So we usually normally make logical groups of all those resources. Suppose we are developing for a specific application or specific module, we create a separate resource group for that, and we take into it all those resources related to that specific resource group. So here if we go, you can search from here or you can search from here as well. Both options are there. So if we go to the resource group, I have created few as of now. So here this resource group I will be using for the demo purpose. So you can see within this resource group all those resources are present. These are all resources created. I have created few for the demo purpose because it normally takes some time to create those resources. For the interest of time, I have already created few of them. So these are all resources and it is coming within the resource group. So now you can see resource group is within a subscription. So if you go there, the next comes subscription here. So subscription groups together all the user accounts and the resource group together to handle it in a much more efficient way. Means you can handle on a subscription basis. So the hierarchy now comes subscription, below that there is resource group, below that there are resources. So where is the management group then? So if we search here management groups, it is the topmost level. So here at the topmost level you can see those two subscriptions are present. Okay, so now we can understand that how the hierarchy is maintained. At the topmost level the management group is there. It will help you to manage access policies and compliance for multiple subscriptions, because there can be multiple subscription within a single management group, as you can see here. And along within subscription groups, the subscription resource group and resources. Okay, so next concepts is data center. So what is data center? As you can understand, the data center only is a networked computer servers used by organization for remote storage, processing and distribution of large amount of data as per Wikipedia. So you are storing all those resources and data within the data centers. There are a huge amount of servers and networks, as you can see from the picture here. And it is very complex infrastructure. So everything is maintained within the data center itself. So whatever resources or data you are working with, so everything will be in the data center. So the next topic after data center, we need to understand what are Azure regions. So regions for Microsoft, you can see that Microsoft is maintaining data centers at different regions. So whenever you are creating some resource, you have to give a region. Suppose I am creating one virtual machine here. So you can see, suppose I am creating one virtual machine. Whenever you are creating, you have to provide a region here. So you need to select the region, although it is in cloud, but internally it will be stored in some region data center. So you need to specify here. And how you will be knowing that which data center, which region you will be choosing? So normally what is followed, that you will be having certain customers or certain requirements at a place. Suppose you have some customers in USA, East USA. So it will be preferable if you select some region which is near to East US, and also you need to check whether all the services are available in that region or not. Based on that you can select, so that the means it is much more quicker for those user to access those resources, because it will be much slow if the user is accessing something which is in Asia and the user is in US, compared to if the resources are in US itself. So you need to understand that how you need to select the region. So there are different regions present across the globe. So you can check from this link. It will take some time to load because it will be in a globe format. So you can just go into the link and explore the globe from here, and can check that what are the data centers currently available for Microsoft. So next is coming, the concept is coming as availability set. So what is availability set? So availability set normally protects us from the infrastructure level failures, protects the virtual machines. So how it is done means, we normally create an availability set where we need to mention more than one machines in a fault domain or update domain. Okay, so what is fault domain and what is update domain? The next question will come. So suppose two machines are within one fault domain, so it's a domain, right? So more than one machines are there. So if one machine fails due to some fault, another machine will continue to support, so until and unless the first machine recovers. So you need to create a fault domain through availability set for handling the infrastructure level failures. And update domain is suppose some updates are going on a specific virtual machine. So on that time it is difficult to access those resources, right? So at that time the other machines which are there in the update domain will be continuing to support the services. So availability set is a logical grouping of VMs that allows Azure to provide redundancy and availability. So your resources are always available. So how to specify this? Let us again go to the portal. So if you are going to virtual machine, you will be having an availability options here. So different options are there: availability zone, virtual machine scale set, availability set. So we will be coming up to the availability zone and virtual machine scale set later. Let us first check what is availability set. So if I am giving an availability set options, automatically I need to select an availability set from here. So if I create an, in this region I have already, so I will be having one. So availability set, so create new. So you here you can see that you can mention your fault domains. So these are the virtual machines in the same fault domain share a common power source and physical network switch. So whenever there is some failures, this fault domain will help to support for that service, for that virtual machines. And for update domain, here you can maximum select up to 20, and for fault domains maximum you can select up to 3. So we are not selecting now, we will be checking afterwards. And if I go to the availability set here, I've already created two VMs, VM A and VM B. Okay, so VM A and VM B are on the same availability set, and you can see here that VM A is in fault domain 0 and update domain 0, and VM B is in fault domain 1 and update domain 1. So if VM A goes down, so this fault domain 0 is only affected, but fault domain 1 will be continuing to support. The same for the update domain as well. So in this manner the availability will be there for your VMs. Okay, so this is the concept of availability set. So let's get back to the slide itself. And next coming is availability zones. So what is the difference between availability set and availability zones? Both are providing redundancy and availability, but the difference is availability zones will protect us at the data center level failures, which availability set cannot do. Because if some infrastructure goes down, then if the whole region, whole data center goes down, then the availability set will not be able to support. So what is availability zone? It's the physically separated data center. So you can see that it is physically separated. So if one zone goes down, then the another zone will continue to support. So it's an isolated boundary is there. So here again, if we go in virtual machine, if we create one, here if we select the availability zone, you can see there are three options coming up. So in a similar way, you have to select one for zone 1, another for zone 2, but you have to keep that in the same network. So if one goes down, the availability zone will be from another zone will be supporting that. Okay, so this is again an means availability, but it is based on a, it will protect you from a data center level failure. So these were the basic concepts, and now we are moving into core Azure services. Okay, so there are quite a few core Azure services. First, we will go into compute services. So what is compute services? So it's an on-demand computing service for running cloud-based applications. So it provides computing resources such as disk, process, memory, networking, and operating systems. And as usual, you will be paying only for the resources is used, and for long as you are using them. So few important compute services are virtual machines, container instance, Kubernetes service, app service, Azure functions. So there are many of them, but these are the important ones. You can primarily focus and understand this in much more depth. So virtual machines. So instead of, as I already mentioned, instead of a physical computers, you will be having a virtual machine. So you will be having a machine virtually. It's an infrastructure as a service. You will be having processor, memory, storage, all in that virtual machine. And again, those will be all will be handled by the is virtually from your end, also for the operating system, and you can install and run software like physical computers. So for that, if you go to virtual machine A, so how you will be accessing the virtual machine? So from here you can connect. So I've already created one because it takes some times. So these are the details of the virtual machines. So this is the resource group, location is east US, this is within the subscription, this is the public IP address of this virtual machine, this is the virtual network within which the virtual machine is there, different other details are present, what type of disk are used, whether it is encrypted or not. So these all are mentioned in the overview log, and there are other settings as well from where you can view that how each and everything is done. So these all are rules basically mentioned to access those virtual machines. Okay, so from here you can specify if you want to specify some different rules. So suppose for these Windows machines, we will be requiring this remote desktop protocol. So if we remove this from here, you will not be able to access it through remote desktop. So for this Windows machine, if you go to this connect, there are three options. We will be going to the RDP one. So you will be required to download an RDP file. So this will be downloaded. And if you open this, this instance will be opened. This is a totally a virtual machine. So it's similar to your personal computer, you can say. So you can install and do everything whatever you want in this virtual machine itself. So everything you need to take care of as it is an IaaS service. Okay, so in this manner you will be handling different virtual machines itself. And there are different properties also present here, you can check from here as well. So there is an activity log, you can check from here whatever the activities are going on for these virtual machines, and other things are as well. So primarily you need to understand what is virtual machine, what type of cloud model you need to follow, and how you can access those things. Basically these things you need to understand in depth. Okay, so here you can see that what are the activity logs mentioned here. And let's move on to the next one, virtual machine sets. So this concept is that when you are creating virtual machine, again I am going there. Here in availability option, you are again having virtual machine scale set. So what is virtual machine scale set? So if I go and create a virtual machine scale set, you will be having an option here, uniform and flexible. Okay, and if you go to this tooltip, you will see that whenever the load is high, the virtual machine will automatically create copy of itself to service all those requirements. Okay, so you will be defining only the virtual machine model, and Azure will generate identical instance based on that model and will serve the purpose of high load if you select the uniform option. And in flexible, you have to manage it by yourself. So what is the scenario? Previously we have only one virtual machine to support our, suppose, our customers. So today we have 10 customers or 100 customers, so our virtual machine configuration will support that. So suppose there is some requirements that suddenly for a single day, so there are different e-commerce website as well, right? So at certain days certain things happen, so on that very day, suppose the demand is very high, the traffic is very high. So in that case, if we select the virtual machine scale set, so it will be popping up identical instances of the virtual machines, and it will be parallelly will try to address all those requests from all those customers. So it will not go down. So at sometimes it happens, right, the server has goes down because it is not able to process. So those things we can avoid using this virtual machine scale sets as well. So what is written? So it is used to deploy and manage a set of identical VMs. So with all the VMs configured the same, virtual machine scale sets are designed to support true auto scale. So auto scale means as per requirement, extra VMs will be popped out, and if the requirement goes down, again those VMs will be shut down. So this auto scale will be there as per requirements. So this process can be manual, automated, or combination of both. So now three options are there for availability. We can see one was availability set, availability zone. Now another is virtual machine scale set. So we can see both of these, both all of these three from while creating the virtual machine we can specify. The next is container instance and Kubernetes service. So nowadays you will hear that everyone is using containers. So what is a container actually? So container is actually a package of software that bundles an application's code together with the related configuration files and libraries, and with the dependencies required for the app to run. What does it means? So suppose in a virtual machine, three softwares were running with a certain configuration of three applications were running basically with certain configurations of a specific installed software. But for a specific applications among those three, we need to do some update. For that we updated that software. So what happens now, only one application is running fine, the other two is hampered due to some reason because it is still expecting to use the older version of the software. So we can avoid these scenarios by using containers, because container will be tightly coupled with that specific version of the application and the configuration files. And if we update a software for a specific application, that specific container will be updated, and rest of them will be as it is. Okay.
So sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Can you zoom a slide a little bit? Students are not able to see the slide, or make it
Okay.
full screen if it's possible. Okay.
Yeah, full screen. Yeah, it's fine.
Mm, yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So we can avoid those scenarios by using containers. Okay. So in that case, what will happen? We will be only updating the software for a specific application where it is required to be updated, and the rest of the two applications will be running in a separate containers. So there should not be any problem with those will be running as usual, what how it was running, and the new updated software will be running after the upgradation of the software. The new application will be running fine as well. So this thing is that this is actually a virtualization environment, and you can run multiple containers in a single physical machine itself. So it's a very helpful in another case as well. Suppose the development team is building a application with certain set of requirements, and when it gets deployed into another environment, different issues comes up because there are some problem with configuration or different versions of software. Those things comes up. So if we are creating containers, we will be creating some images, container images you can say. So those images will be having all those details of the environment and configurations as well. So we will be actually just taking the same thing to another environment, and everything will be running fine there as well. So this is the benefit of the containers, but these containers needs to be orchestrated by someone. Means this cannot, means this needs to be started, stopped, or scaled out. Means number of instances of this container will be required to increase if the load gets increased. So this thing needs to be done by somebody. So Azure has provided two options. One is container instance, that is Azure container instance, and another is Azure Kubernetes Service. Okay, so let me go to the portal once. So from here, if I go to the container instance, let me create one. I'll just show an example. So I'm not selecting any availability zone. So there are three options for image sources. As I am told you that we will be creating some images. So that can be from any container registry you can take, from other registry you can take from public domains. And here some quick start images are also provided, hello world sort of thing. So let's move with this, and let's keep this only like this one. So it will take some time. So here in this way you can create a container instance here and can assign those images, so it will be handled accordingly by Azure. It takes a time, so that's why I created few of them, but this one I missed. Okay, let me continue with the slides, and afterwards I will come up with this. So the same is with Kubernetes service as well. So Kubernetes is preferred at times when you need a very complex sort of means management required for the containers. Okay, so it's a complete orchestration service for containers with distributed architectures and large volume of containers. So if the volume of containers is huge, then Kubernetes will be efficiently managing, automating, and interacting with large number of containers accordingly. So this will be termed as an orchestration. So these two things you have to understand the concepts for the exam, that what is container instance and what is Kubernetes service, what are containers, and what are the benefits of containers, in which scenarios you can use containers, in which scenarios you might face some issues with virtual machines. So these concepts you have to be clear. Okay, so here if I go, so you see the container instance is up. As I just took the hello world one, it is coming like this. Okay, so here you have different settings you can check from here as well. So this is the public address. So in this URL you will be able to access this container. So as I've taken just a image of an hello world, so this one will be coming, so it is up and running. From this page we can understand. So similarly you can create a Kubernetes service as well. Azure Kubernetes Service, it is much more complex to build here because you will be requiring some YAML file configurations as well. So I'm not creating that. So you just can go there and check this Kubernetes service. You can create from here Kubernetes clusters. So you need to mention many things, the pools, access, networking. You have to mention different things from here as well. So these two things are there. You need to understand for managing the containers. Okay. So the next is Azure App Service. So Azure App Service helps you to build, deploy, and scale enterprise grade web. So what is actually an app service? So you develop some applications, right, using Visual Studio or others, other languages or other things. So you can deploy them here and manage them very easily. So let me go to the app service portion. So I have already created one app service here. So this app services, you can see there is one deployment slots. It is not available in this subscription, I think. I tried. So whenever you will be deploying some applications from your end, so you will be having some option to add slots. Okay. So slots means you can check from here. I have this link. So slots means, suppose some application is already running in the production, right? So it is very risky to deploy that directly into the production. So what normally is done, it is deployed first into a staging environment, stage slot. So you can see here, after selecting an app service, we are selecting a slot here. Okay. So from slot, you are mentioning the staging, whatever the environment is, and you will be deploying there, not in the production. And after you are done with deployment in the staging environment, you will check whether all the updates and functionalities are working fine. And if it is working fine, you will be just swapping the two slots. I mean, you will be just swapping the staging slot with the production slot. So now everything will be in the production if everything is working fine. So this is a very good option given by app service in Azure. So you can use this. You have to upgrade it to standard or premium plan to use those app service. And for quick start, there are different options as well. You can check how you can deploy ASP.NET, PHP, Java, Python, Node.js. So in this manner, it will be a very efficient app to deploy your applications. Okay. And you can check all these functionalities. In the interest of time, I'm not going in much details here. You can check accordingly after you create your free account in Azure. Okay. So the next is, then I'm moving into Azure Functions. So what is Azure Functions? So it is, it doesn't depend on your platform or infrastructure. It is a set of code actually. You'll be just running, and whatever the whatever time, CPU time you will be consuming, you will be charged only based on that. So there might be some event occurring, or an REST API request, or some timer is there, or some message is coming up. Based on that, the Azure function is triggered, and you will be only getting the result from there, and you will be charged for only the CPU which is used by it. So let me go to one Azure function I have created. For that, you will be required to create a function app. Within that, you will be creating the Azure function. I think it is already opened here. I have already opened this. Yeah. So it is there. So within this Azure function app, if you go to these functions, you will be creating one from here. So you will be developing in portal or somewhere else. You will be selecting the template from here, and you will be creating. So I've already created one, this HTTP trigger one. So let's see how it works. If we go to the code plus test, so this is the set of code which is automatically generated for this HTTP trigger one. So what actually it does? So for checking that, you can select here, you can copy the URL and can paste it. So what is shown, that triggered successfully but pass a name. So there is no name passed here. So you are getting this message. Okay. So if we pass a name like this in URL, now you will be seeing hello. Saurabh, this HTTP triggered function is executing successfully. So it's just executing the logic, right? Nothing else. So you will be charged for only the CPU time it is using. You can also test from here as well. So if we mention it here as John and just run here, so it will be starting to run here, and you will be getting the response here. So you can test from here as well. So it's very helpful, Azure Functions. So it's a serverless technology. So you will be only charged for the CPU time you'll be using, nothing infrastructure charges as such. So you can check in detail in your free account for Azure Functions. Okay, so next, let's move to Azure networking services then. So virtual network. So virtual network is a network which is there in the cloud, through which you are actually connecting to different on-premise network or other Azure resources, so such as VMs, web apps, databases, and other things. So it is basically a network which you are using to connect to different resources, whether it is on-premise or in the cloud. So what are the ins if you go to this virtual machine again, if you go to these networks, let me go from here. So here the already the virtual network is there, which is used by the VMs. So you can configure a different properties for this, different options. You can configure firewalls, you can configure DDoS protection. So you can configure some peerings as well. So those two networks are peered together, so they can seamlessly connect between those two virtual networks. So there is no issues with that. So here you can go and configure also these virtual networks from here. Okay, so you can check these properties as well. Next is the virtual network peering, as I was telling. So it is a connection of between two virtual networks. Okay, so when the virtual networks are peered, actually those machines can communicate via the private IP address as well. So it's very easy to get connected with both of them if those two networks are peered. So there are different options for network peering. Three are point to site to site, and express route. So point to site is basically you are establishing a connection between an Azure virtual network and multiple client machines on your network over internet. For site to site is basically between two networks, one is on premise network and one is virtual network. An express route is totally a private connection established between Azure and your network. So it's more reliable, faster, and higher security because it is not using the internet like the other two. So for peering, if I go here, if I add here, you will be given some options here. Okay, so from here you can select another network for peering. So I'm not doing this as of now because it will take some time. So from here you can also select another one. So you need to provide link name and those things. So you can do the peering from here only, from within this virtual network. If you go to this peering part by adding this peering, so this part you need to check that how many types of peering we can do, and on what scenario which peering we will be using. So that you need to understand for the exam. And express route, as I have already mentioned, that it is an extension of your on-premise network into Microsoft cloud, because it's a doesn't go over public internet, it's a private network. So it's much more secure and much more faster. So you can check that as well. And next come load balancer. Load balancer, from the name you can understand, it is balancing the load. So whenever some traffic is coming up, it will be balancing the load to different distribute different inbound traffics to different VMs or other services, as an whatever is required as per the scenario. So load balancer mainly provides TCP and UDP load balancing, and these route takes place based on source IP address and port. You can see here it's a Microsoft site image. So you can see that internally it is being distributed. And the next is application gateway. It is also a type of load balancing, but it handles the HTTP and WebSocket requests. So load balancer is handling TCP and UDP, and application gateway is handling the HTTP request. So using HTTP request from the image, again from Microsoft site, you can see that if you are specifying slash images, you are going to an image server pool. If you are specifying slash video, you're going to video server pool. So in this way it will be handling this gateway. So these concepts you also need to understand, what is load balancer and what is application gateway. And now let's move into the storage services. It's an important one. that how many types of storages are available there. So primarily we will be having a blob storage. If I move into the storage account here, so you can see that there are four types of storages present. Okay, so this is the blob storage. So here you can upload your files and can use them. So the hierarchy is like this, that you need to have a storage account. Within that you will be having a container. So you have a container here. It's a container, and within that you will be having blobs. Okay, so within blobs you will be having these files. This is a blob. There are other blob types as well. So if you go into the student, if you can go to the edit, you can see what is the content present in there. Okay, and you can also take some snapshots. So these are read-only versions of those files at that scenario. And another main thing is that I will be coming up on the next slide itself, the access tiers. So it's important, the access tiers are important. So there are three types of access tiers you can see. One is hot access tier, cool access tier, archive access tier. So hot access tier is actually optimized for the data which is accessed on a frequent basis. So it has lowest access cost and highest storage cost. So those data which you need to access on a frequent basis, you keep those in the hot access tier only. And the second one is cool. So whenever the data is stored for at least 30 days, so you it is not so much frequent as the hot access tier. So you can keep those in the cool access tier itself. So it has lower storage cost and higher access cost compared to hot tier. And the third and final one is archive. So you, from the name itself, you can understand that the data which are rarely accessed and stored for at least 180 days, so you can move those into archive because it has lowest storage cost. And as those are not accessed quite frequently, so the data retrieval cost is higher and it takes much more time to retrieve compared to hot and cool tiers. So you can optimize the storage cost by keeping the data into appropriate access tiers that you need to decide. So for a single this one, you can change the tier from here if you think that it needs to be changed to cool or needs to be changed to archive. So you can do this from here. And another few things that acquire lease. So suppose you do not want these gets to be deleted, so you can just acquire lease on this. So you can see that the delete button gets disabled. So now if you want to break lease, means if you are allowing it to be getting deleted, so now you can again delete it from here. So there are different options here, so you can just look into this and play with them. So this one is for blob one. Next one is Azure file storage. So if I go here for file shares, so this is actually means you're keeping the means what I will say, you are keeping data here and you are accessing those from your machine itself, from as if through the different drives. At times you access right from your own machine, that different drives get created, but it is actually going to a different set of machines, not your local machines. So here you can see, if you go here, docs, demo session storage, file storage, this one, if you connect here, you will be getting a script here. Okay, so you need to copy this script and run your Windows PowerShell in an administrator mode. And if you paste there, a drive will get created into your machine. So this is the drive Z or something else what you will be specifying. So through that you can access this file directly from your machine itself. Okay, and there is one thing you need to check. There is one, you need to check whether the port 445 is available or not, because otherwise you will not be able to access this. So that you need to check, and if you are facing some problem, you can check from this link. So this is the file access share. And the third one is queue. The queue, as you know, that it's first in first out. So it is used for storage large amount of messages, and you can access that using HTTP and HTTPS calls means authenticated calls, and you can store millions of messages. And if I go to this portal, I have already created one as a test purpose. So you need, if you want to create a queue from here, you just create a queue by giving a name. Here you will be getting messages, so you can add messages from here. Message 4, so you can also mention that when it will be expiring or if it will be never expire. So you can just add it, it will get added here. And if you dequeue, the first message will go out, so the message 2 is gone. And if you want to clear the queue as a whole, everything will be cleared. Okay, so normally in real life scenario, what is that, the you will not be adding directly there. Always the applications will be adding some messages in the queue, and some other application will process some data based on those messages present in the queue. So that will be a dequeue method, we will say. And the fourth one is tables. So what is table? uh, Table storage is a service that stores non-relational structured data, structured NoSQL data in the cloud. It's provide key attributes store in a schema-less design. And the partition key is important because as the data will increase, so the partition key will helps to get retrieve the data quickly. Otherwise, it will take huge amount of time. So if we go into this table, so I have created one already, but you will not be able to access from here. You need to go to the storage browser. So if you go to these files, it's tables. If you go here, you will see that I've already entered two entries. So if you go to add entity, you will get this type of window. So partition key, I have taken it as the department here. It's a sales, HR, or this. You can give anything else. There are already two records, so I'm giving a 3-1. And employee name, I can say Jack1 or something like that. If we insert, it will get inserted here. So it is not directly means a relational type, but it's a table structure to access this non-relational structured data sort of thing. So these are the four types of means storage you can use. So, and the last slide for today is data redundancy option. So whenever you are storing some data, let me just give me a minute. Storage name is demo123 stus. So here you will be see the redundancy option. So what is redundancy means, how many means how the data is stored in different locations. So if there is some failure occurs, it gets retrieved. So there are four options for the standard, and for premium only there is LRS available as of now. So what are the options? Let us check. So LRS, the locally redundant storage, it will be copying your data synchronously 3 times within a single physical location in the primary region. So there will be 3 copy locally in the same physical location. So if something happens to that local region, then you will not be able to retrieve that data. For zone redundant storage, the data will again be copied, but it will be then in different zones, as we have mentioned earlier. So if one zone fail, then the other zone will be providing you the data. And geo redundant storage, it will again copy synchronously in a single physical location using LRS. So there will be LRS as well in the single physical location, and also copy asynchronously in another secondary location, so that it is available on a it's a global basis. And geo zone redundant storage, the zone will again come into play here, along with copying the data across 3 availability zone in primary region using ZRS. It will be copying to a secondary region as well. So these are the four options. You need to understand this very well, that what is the utility of these four options and what the problem might happen with one which is resolved by another. So these things you have to understand. So yeah, so for today I have kept till now. So reference, I have taken the things from Microsoft Docs. So yeah, so this is end of day. So if anything is there, you can share or ask.
Thank you very much, sir. Let me take
Yeah.
few doubts from the audience. Let me check if anyone have any doubt. Sir, audience are requesting your slides. Could you share that slide after the session? These slides
Uh,
after this session.
okay,
Is
I
it
will share
possible?
it. I will share. Actually, I was thinking that I will be sharing everything after the final day in a consolidated way. So if it is required,
Okay.
I will share with you. No problem.
Sure, no problem. So thank you very much, sir, for the day one of this AZ900 Bootcamp. It was a great interacting with you, learning from you, and students are enjoying your session. Till now, we have 100 plus participate, those who are watching this session. Uh, any
Okay.
other doubt, guys, if you have, you can ask. Thank you. Okay. Okay, sir, is there any informative Azure passes? Sure. Soon we are having a giveaway of Azure passes. We'll get let you know after you join our Discord channel. You guys do join our Discord channel. We share all the PPTs and other related stuff over there only. Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Guys, I
Thank
am
you all for
sir.
joining.
Guys, I have shared you the form. Please fill this form for our day one attendance, so that after 4 days I can share your digital certificate from the side of Azure Dev community. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much,
Yeah. Thanks
audience.
a lot. Thanks you. Thank you all. Yeah.